All right, welcome everybody to Monday Night Conscious Community Class with me, Matthew Brownstein. It is April the 6th, 2020, and I haven't done these classes in quite a while, so it's really a pleasure to be here with you again. Unfortunately, this came about because of COVID-19, and a lot of us, of course, are staying at home and we're stuck at home. So it's a nice opportunity for me to connect again with you. So I've been doing these classes since about 2011, 2012, doing them on and off. So I'm going to give you guys a little PowerPoint tonight in case you're new to the school, to catch you up with just, who we are, who I am, and just how many hours of information we have just from these Monday night classes alone. It's well over 400 hours of free hypnotherapy-based training. But the difference in the Monday night classes, it's a chance for me to be more me in the sense of the deeper spirituality that myself and our staff, but very much me because I'm the one who founded the school, brought to this for the underlying principles that are part of the school. We've always done topics for these classes, and while this is a first kind of introductory class to Monday night, the topic is officially the Bodhisattva Vow, which I'll explain, and interpersonal hypnotherapy, which I'll also explain. Once again, you guys do, not on the video when they're recording, but if you're here live, you have the ability to use the chat pod, and I do want to interact with you, so feel free to ask questions and to share. To get us started, I gave you the topic, the Bodhisattva Vow and interpersonal hypnotherapy. But let me give you an overview of the school, first of all, just who we are and what we do. It won't take that long. And then everybody will be on the same page of knowing what this is all about, what we're all about. And again, as I look at the attendance list, welcome everybody, like sincerely, it's awesome that we're here, especially obviously with what's happening now in the world. Let me first give you the intro before I do anything else. So I'm going to go to PowerPoint. Again, I'm kind of new, very new with Zoom, so bear with me. There we go. There's our first slide. Welcome everybody. Monday night conscious community class with me, Matthew Brownstein, starting a little after 7 p.m. Eastern time. I'm actually in California now, and a bunch of our students are in California and around the country. So it doesn't quite feel like Monday night conscious community class for me, but it is for a lot of you on the East Coast. So welcome again. In case you're new to who we are, we're the Institute of Interpersonal Hypnotherapy, and also the International Association of Interpersonal Hypnotherapists. And these are our three websites, just so everybody gets a sense. On the left, instituteofhypnotherapy.com. That now has links for these Monday night conscious community classes, as well, as a very active blog. And I hope you'll check out some of the beautiful graphic design work from our marketing team who's knocking it out of the park. The middle website is our student portal, tfioh.com. It's an older website, but a lot of you are familiar with it. And the site on the right is the IAIH, the International Association of Interpersonal Hypnotherapists website, interpersonalhypnotherapy.com. Unfortunately, we had to cancel our conference, or postpone is the better way to say it, postpone our conference for May 2020, but we're looking hopefully to do it in October 11th. We'll see what happens in the world. Our conscious community classes, something that started this up again, that I did a blog called Creating Community During Challenging Times, and that was launching these classes again. So again, thank you everybody for being here. Just a little bit about me in case you don't know and in case you want to know. I'm actually a religion and philosophy major, and then, all I wanted to do, honestly, was to be a monk. But it's, that didn't really work out, unfortunately. But I did spend time, about 5 years total in my life, and not everything is listed here, but I've lived in different monasteries and ashrams. I lived in the Himalayas in India and studied with really great masters. So it's a lot of what I like to bring to our school, are again, these deeper teachings. So you see the first three bullet points are major places, but not the only ones that I've lived at. I spent about 2 years in traditional Chinese medical school. Decided not to go into that path because hypnotherapy was just so much more my thing. So I spent years doing hypnotherapy trainings in various locations, as well as neuro-linguistic programming training. And that led to eventually a very successful career in hypnotherapy, 10 years in private practice, and now about 12 years running the school. So our corporate name is Anahat Education Group. Anahat is the heart chakra. CEO of that. Executive Director and Lead Instructor of the Institute of Interpersonal Hypnotherapy, which is the first and only school to be licensed by the Department of Education's Commission for Independent Education. So we're quite a pioneer in the field. Also, I founded and still the current president of the International Association of Interpersonal Hypnotherapists, and I'm the author of 5 books, which I'll show you a little bit more as we go through here. Again, we'll go through this quick. I want to go into class time tonight. The topics that we do cover for these Monday night classes usually relate to spiritual growth, hypnotherapy, and a lot of its deeper implications, meditation teachings, hypnosis and the paranormal, healing and enlightenment, finding inner peace, creating community, and of course, in miracles. You can find, again, 400 hours of past classes on this at our instituteofhypnotherapy.com website. And the graphic there is the topic for tonight, the Bodhisattva Vow and Interpersonal Hypnotherapy. We're not going to go into what is interpersonal hypnotherapy tonight, at least not in the beginning, but the topic is based on that. So, of course, we'll get into it. I want to focus more on the Bodhisattva ideal tonight and how hypnotherapists can really make a profound impact in a world that really needs us. And coming from the interpersonal hypnotherapy model, we have much deeper teachings that make what we do so much more fulfilling. But I'd encourage all of you to consider, if you haven't, read my book, the book called Interpersonal Hypnotherapy. If you're new to this, it'll give you a really good feel for why we're very unique. We do offer, in case you haven't dived in yet, 4.5 hours of free hypnotherapy training. It says 10 hours of free other classes, but honestly, that's over 400 hours. People are just intimidated by that many hours. So we said, oh, we'll just give you 10. But the truth is there's hundreds of hours of free classes online with us right now on our websites. And then a complimentary hypnotherapy training guide. Again, the Monday Night Conscious Community classes, over 400 hours. And you can find that in the link there, or just explore around Institute of Hypnotherapy. Our overall training, there's Danny, who's here right now, and maybe Renuka's here. Danny's our director in Tampa. Renuka, our director in Hollywood, Florida. We have locations around the country. You'll see listed on the screen. And we are still around, even though a lot of businesses had to close because of COVID. Thank God, fortunately, we're largely still here because we are a largely online institute, but we do have in-house practical hours, and we've had to redo our schedule for that. But everything is still scheduled and ideally moving ahead as planned. Get back in the center of the camera there. Our conference, we did have to postpone. The graphics were beautiful. Everything was looking so good. We were so excited. I'm not going to do it online. It's just too important that we all come together in person. That's so much what interpersonal hypnotherapy is about, the human connection. So we're going to schedule it just as soon as we can. You can keep an eye out for that in the newsletters and on interpersonalhypnotherapy.com and on our social media presence. We do have many hypnotherapy CU courses. If you're sitting at home bored doing nothing, just a reminder, our graduates can do interpersonal hypnotherapy training is 22 hours. Eye movement therapy, another 8 hours. If you're new to all of this, very new, and you want a really deep immersion in self-hypnosis and meditation, that CEU course is available for anyone. And psychic and intuitive development with our dear friend and colleague, Mary Hayes, you guys can check out on our website as well. Probably next week, I'll write a blog and we'll do a class on my book, Peace Under All Circumstances. It's also an audio book. I plan to get that for free on YouTube very soon. Just need the graphics designed for that. And there are guided meditations as well. I'll most likely just put on YouTube for free. So we'll do a class on that next week for the Monday Night Conscious Community class, Being at Peace, no matter what's happening in the world, which is very apropos right now, obviously. Opening the Heart teachings, we'll do another Monday night class on that coming up. These are products, by the way, but I'm not really here to plug them as much as just to say these are topics that are important to me that I've designed teachings on that are available for the public. They're part of our hypnotherapy schools training, and I like to make these topics the Monday night class topics. So we will cover opening the heart and working through emotional blocks, probably in the third, this being the third Monday night class, but we'll see how all that goes. But this is an important topic, especially now with so much emotion that is being stirred up with what's going on in the world. My book, The Sutras on Healing and Enlightenment, a lot of our school's training is based on these deeper teachings, not just on healing the mind and healing the body, but on the enlightenment process itself, which again is super valuable right now. And we'll be focusing on that tonight as we get into the Bodhisattva ideal. Monday night classes will go into the metaphysics of mind-body healing. And again, just another beautiful graphic from our marketing team. While you're sitting at home, if you don't want to sit at home, our school has, and then I have this workbook available on our website, Astral Projection, the out-of-body experience. To me, these are very real. They're not dreams. They're not lucid dreams. They're legitimate out-of-body experiences. And if you've never had one, it's really, I mean, there's no way to get into it tonight. We'll do an entire Monday night class on this in the future as we've launched these again. And I'm always happy to share with everybody what out-of-body experiences are like. If there's anything that helps you to know you are a spiritual being, this is certainly one of the experiences. So we'll cover that in a future Monday night class. During this time, it's amazing to start doing this kind of work, life mastery and manifesting prosperity work. Again, for people who are not part of this school, this stuff is available on our website, but it's also just part of our school's curriculum. If you're not using your mind right now to start to create a rocking future, you're missing an amazing opportunity, which again, we'll talk about this whole stay home order. It's honestly an amazing time for those of us who are using the power of our mind to make a better world, to get our mind in a good place while you have a lot of time to meditate now. We'll do a Course in Miracles class at least once during these Monday night classes as we're reinstating them. And I'll talk a little bit about tonight of A Course in Miracles, as long as I remember to, and some of its themes that are relevant right now with what's going on in the world. I'm also the author of 5 books, but 2 of them are on this page, The Sacred Geometry Meditation, the Anahat Meditation System. We'll do a Monday night class in the future as I start scheduling them and they unfold on sacred geometry and just how powerful that can be. You'll see a lot of those glyphs in our current marketing. In fact, it's kind of always been in our marketing, but our marketing team has finally figured out how beautiful sacred geometry is, so you see it more and more in our school's graphics. We'll cover some yogic philosophy and psychology. That has a lot to do with opening the heart teachings. But honestly, I was never, in my religion philosophy studies, a huge fan of Western psychology. But when I learned about Eastern psychology, Eastern mysticism, it became really clear there's a lot out there that's so valuable. And so here is a hypnotherapy school. This graphic says, because we are way more than hypnotherapy training, you'll see behind the person standing there is an image of a person in meditation, with some nice sacred geometrical images. And we'll get into that tonight. What can deep meditation really do for you as a tool to help you and help the world right now? And just about done with this little PowerPoint. We'll cover some Zen Buddhism and Taoism, and this again relates to tonight's topic, the Bodhisattva Vow and Interpersonal Hypnotherapy. Just so everybody knows, there are some classes posted on the link below. It's at our Conscious Community section. So once you find all the recordings for the past classes of these Monday nights, you'll see the most current 2 different marketing videos on helping our graduates to succeed. So if you're a graduate of the school, you're working to build your practice. If you haven't watched those videos yet, it's really priceless information. So absolutely check those out. And that is our final slide. And this is a new graphic from a marketing team, compassionate service to all beings until all beings are free from suffering, which basically is the Bodhisattva ideal, or the Bodhisattva vow. I'm going to stop sharing, go back to camera. All right, great. So I hope everybody was able to see that. I hope that didn't seem too promotional, but I did want everybody to know who we are and what we're all about. So we're going to go into tonight's topic. And at any time, just feel free to use the chat pod. Ask me questions, interact with me. Later on, I'll be very open to feedback with the new Zoom system as far as how we're using this and perhaps how we can optimize it as we've relaunched the Monday Night Conscious Community class. So let's talk about bodhisattvas. In case you don't know the word, you guys are bodhisattvas. A bodhisattva, let me not even define it yet. I'll tell you a story that a lot of you probably know. So about 2,500 years ago, about 500 BC, in that time frame, 600 BC, a man named Siddhartha Gautama lived, and he became known as the present-day Buddha. So most people who know who is the Buddha, that's a man named Siddhartha Gautama. Not the big fat jolly Buddha you see in a lot of the Chinese restaurants, for those of you who really don't know anything. But Buddha was a man who was born most likely into royalty, into probably a prince-type existence. And his father, as the story goes, the king, this boy, he realized through astrologers and other, you might say, soothsayers or whatever, predicted that Buddha was going to be a really great being. He would either be a great king or he would renounce the world and become a monk and be a great religious leader. The king didn't want that for his son, to be a religious leader. He wanted him to be a great king. So supposedly he sheltered him from everything that was uncomfortable: birth, sickness, old age, and death. The Buddha wasn't allowed to see, but eventually he did see the phenomena, especially when they left the kingdom of the palace, as the story goes, of seeing sickness and seeing suffering. And right now, this topic is, I don't want to say more relevant than ever in human history, but in our lifetimes, it's probably more relevant than ever, right? I don't need to tell everybody what's happening right now in the world and how there's a lot of sickness and suffering and death, right? So that's right in our faces, and it was right in Buddha's face. So Buddha left his ability to become a king and renounced everything, including his entire family, and went and became a monk. He renounced his princely clothing. He took on the robes of what's called a Hindu sannyas. This is happening in India. Sannyas is a Hindu holy person. So while wearing monk's robes, Buddha is basically meditating for days and days and days, hours and hours, just every day, doing what are called, you might say, Hindu or sannyas aesthetic practices, practices involving really intense mortification of the flesh, denying oneself all the pleasures of life. And what he was working to do is to find a way to relieve all human suffering for all sentient beings. After the short story of this, after 6 years of intense practice, he realized this really extreme way just wasn't working. He never reached his goals. No matter how deep his meditations went, no matter how much bliss he could feel, he realized he still had suffering, and there was certainly still suffering in the world. So the story goes that he sat under the bo tree for about 6 months, and he had left his kingdom, his princely life, at the age of, I believe, 29. And then he was officially enlightened after about 6 years. So by the age of 35, this relatively young man became gloriously enlightened sitting under the bo tree. Now, the idea why this story is so relevant right now is because in Buddhism, the earlier schools were all about achieving something called nirvana. This isn't necessarily new to the Indian continent, right? In Hinduism, they knew about meditative yogic disciplines for thousands of years before the Buddha. And the whole idea is to escape the cycle of samsara, the cycle of birth and death. Right? So that and that you could say is happening over lifetimes, or you could just say it's happening day after day, right? Every day there's human suffering, and it just keeps going on and on and on again. So in that model of trying to escape, and that's a key word here, escape samsara, or get out of this cycle of suffering, the cycle of birth and death, it was to achieve nirvana, or another Sanskrit would be moksha, or liberation. When the Buddha attained that, he didn't actually just ascend up into heaven and not be part of this world anymore. He stayed and he taught until he was about, I believe, 79 years old. Right? So he spent 40 plus years teaching the Dharma, teaching the way, teaching a path that would relieve suffering. But inherent in a lot of that was this idea that you will do intense spiritual practice, you will achieve enlightenment, and you will be done with this planet. You can ascend, you can transcend, you can leave, that's it. Eventually, in Buddhism, there were two schools of thought that came about. One was called the Mahayana, and the other is called the Hinayana. It's actually the Mahayanists that came up with these terms, because Mahayana refers to the greater vehicle, and Hinayana usually is the lesser vehicle. Now, obviously, that's a bias by the Hinayanists who came up with that idea. But the Hinayanists were saying that the Mahayanists, the ones who are supposedly a bit more evolved in their thinking, and it took a while before these teachings to come about. Honestly, I think it took about 300 years, hundreds of years before they started catching on to this idea that individual enlightenment is a meaningless concept. The idea that one person can sit in meditation, achieve, which we can talk about tonight, deep meditative states called samadhi, merge into absolute bliss consciousness, which you can do, which I can do, which I can guide you to do in these Monday night classes. And we're going to do that. We're going to move into samadhi states, and we do that in our school's training, right? Everything. You guys think it's a hypnotherapy school, and it is. And it's a really good one, to be honest. But it's a funnel guiding you through hypnotherapy, eventually into clinical hypnotherapy, which goes into some very deep metaphysical teachings, and then eventually into transpersonal hypnotherapy, which helps to light you up about who you are as a spiritual being and all the cool implications that go with that, which we can find through altered states like hypnosis. Yet once you go deep enough into the transpersonal teachings, we eventually get into the deep meditative teachings on samadhi. The idea in this deep yogic and even Buddhist sense of how to meditate is if you can reach a state of samadhi, a state of shunya, which shunya is a word in Sanskrit that refers to empty or emptiness. But if you say something's empty, you have to say empty of what? And in Buddhism and things like Course in Miracles or yogic philosophy, and almost every tradition, depending how you look at it, empty is empty of ego, empty of a separate self. So the Mahayanists who are meditating eventually realize you can go as deep as you can go, but people are still suffering. Animals are still suffering. Sentient beings, those who feel, are still suffering. The Hinayana school, in a very basic understanding, was meditate the way Buddha did, achieve your own personal salvation, and you're done, you're free, it's over. One way to understand this in light metaphorical language is more in the Judeo-Christian model, that you have physical death occur and you as spirit, you float up into the clouds up there with, who's it, St. Peter, I think, who's at the gates, and you say, all right, I graduated, I'm done, whatever that means, whatever model. And St. Peter says, yeah, you did great, come on in. And you go into heaven, and that's it. And you forget about everybody else who's on the planet, right? It doesn't matter if there's suffering down there because you graduated to heaven. Doesn't matter if there's people in hell, you're going to heaven. That's the very basic understanding of what it means to have individual salvation. The Mahayanas, not just philosophically, intellectually, but through their own years and years of meditation, they got to the place where they realized not only are they still suffering, they're still subject to all sorts of human agonies. Right? They can still get sick, they can still have emotions, they can still lose loved ones and feel pain. So no matter how deep they went into, we'll call it samadhi, then the deepest possible meditative states, with no ego, in the very deepest state of samadhi, there's no individual ego, but your body doesn't die. Nor do you, even if you learn how to have out-of-body experiences, which I can teach you how to do, you still leave your body and then you come back, right? And everybody who's reported an out-of-body experience, including near-death experiences, have done that, right? If you leave for good, you don't come back. We don't get to talk to you in that same way. But when you do come back to your body through deep meditation or out-of-body experiences or near-death experience, you do come back. And you realize, wow, I still have decades left on this planet. And even though you may be self-realized now, you may have ascended to the top of the mountain, you might know what the deepest samadhi states are and the highest cosmic conscious mystical experiences, you still come back down. And so the Bodhisattva Vow is a vow, and it comes about again through the Mahayana Buddhist traditions, where they said, you know what, the idea of individual salvation is really meaningless. Until all beings are free from suffering, I'm never free from suffering. I'm never done. And if we've ever, as a human species, got that idea, it's now, isn't it, right? We're all being asked to stay at home. We're all realizing there's what the hashtag alone together now. And they're talking about how we're all in this together. The Bodhisattva Vow is the idea that we're all in this together. So it's a horrible time, right? There's enormous amounts of pain and sickness and death and loss, and that's real. It's, if it hasn't hit you yet, last time I checked, there were 1.2 million people who had coronavirus, COVID-19, and over 70,000 people, at least I was like, when I checked this morning, that had died. Right? I live in California in the mountains now, and there's about 10,000 people who live in my town, another 10,000 in the town next to us, and probably about 20,000 in the town over. That's like as if the entire top of this mountain where I live, where everybody just died, and then double that. If you just start to grasp how many people that is, it's a serious wake-up call for us. So now what's happening? We're being asked to stay at home. Not everybody can, but a lot of us who are hypnotherapists, like massage therapists, chiropractors, acupuncturists, hairstylists. I don't know what I'm going to do about my haircut eventually. Nobody's gone to the barber now either. So not only are all these people unemployed, right, which is another huge loss that's occurring, but a lot of us who are caregivers are being asked to stay at home. And to me, honestly, even though I wear a suit and whatnot, I'm a monk. My head would be shaved if that was socially appropriate. And I would be living in a monastery if that were something I was dharmically meant to do, but I keep being led to be in the world here. So I've accepted that. But being a yogi, being a monk at heart, I live alone in the mountains now, and my primary place where I live, and I just spend hours a day meditating now. They say stay at home. I'm like, wow, honestly, that's really easy for a monk to do. They say if you put a Westerner in solitary confinement, he will go insane. But if you put an Easterner in solitary confinement, he will come out enlightened. So the question is, how are we as hypnotherapists or as caregivers, as healers, as anybody, I imagine if you're here tonight or watching this recording, you have a good heart. You care about helping the world. So I feel inspired to talk with us tonight and guide us in some meditations about what it means to be in an enlightened state, what it means to go into solitary confinement or into kind of a monastic setting or living in a cave or literally or figuratively going to the top of a mountain and meditating for hours. I want to inspire everybody tonight who's interested to really consider something called sadhana. Sadhana means spiritual practice, or sometimes translated as spiritual discipline. With our hypnotherapy school and all these related teachings, we have teachers, we have phenomenal teachers on staff, I can probably bring on board for some of these Monday night classes. We can teach you so much about altered states, meditation, healing your mind, healing the body, spiritual awareness, psychic and intuitive abilities, long distance healing. I mean, we can talk about what is the place of spiritual, mental, emotional healing when it comes to COVID-19, because no hypnotherapist, as far as I know, saying, oh yeah, I know how to cure that, right? We have a different place in the world's healing when it comes to what we can offer. So sadhana, being a spiritual discipline, is very much what the Buddha did. And if somebody says to a spiritual aspirant, stay at home, they're like, okay, you mean meditate more? You mean merge into the bliss of my true self more? Take more time to cultivate inner peace, right? Open my heart to more love, get more intimate with who I am and the fact that there is human suffering, and what does that really mean? So, I lived at a Zen monastery, and I'm very immersed in Zen philosophy. And when you meditate in a Zazen practice, Zazen means sitting Zen. Simply, it's just meditating in a Zen fashion, but most Zen practitioners don't like to call it meditation. They're sitting Zen, walking Zen, talking Zen, eating Zen, right? Every moment Zen. When you're just sitting, you go into that very deep space of being very present, very here now. In Zen, it's not just sitting to relax or sitting to calm your heart or sitting to work your emotions. It's a matter of life and death. Right? I heard that in my early 20s, in intense Zen practice. This is a matter of life and death. Now, I was like, why? Why would me sitting in meditation be about life and death? But when you understand the Bodhisattva Vow is at the essence of all of these teachings, then you start saying, wow, maybe being a monk, maybe being a meditator, being a yogi, being somebody like whatever you guys call yourself, maybe, don't call yourself anything, which is great. But I'm sure a lot of you are here tonight, part of our school, very interested in healing in the mind, right? So you have your own role in this kind of thing. And I believe that's why we're having this discussion or teaching tonight. So if it becomes a matter of life and death, here's a way to understand the importance of the deep meditative type teachings, the spiritual teachings in all the world's wisdom traditions. In Zen, there's a story of two nuns who are sitting and sewing. And the first nun says to the second, "How do you sew?" And she says, "Oh, when I put the needle in, I breathe in. When I put the needle out, I breathe out." The second nun who asked the question said, "How long have you been practicing Zen?" She said, "Oh, 20 years. She said, 20 years, and that's still how you sew?" And the first nun said, "Well, how do you sew?" She said, "When I put the needle in, I am saving all sentient beings. When I put the needle out, I'm sustaining universes." Something like that. I don't remember the exact answer, but it was like a glorious answer about every breath is my way, every mindful breath is my way of saving all sentient beings. So the Bodhisattva Vow, which I'm not saying you have to take, but I do joke that all of our graduates are Bodhisattvas. And that's simply stated someone who's dedicated their life to relieving suffering. But it's a little bit deeper than that, because a Bodhisattva is technically somebody who's highly self-realized, highly enlightened, hasn't necessarily made it to the very final stage yet, but a Bodhisattva doesn't even care about whatever that final stage is, doesn't matter, because they say, "I see a problem right now. Sentient beings are suffering. There is suffering." When the Buddha was enlightened, one of his first lectures, maybe not his very first, but his first real documented lecture was on the Four Noble Truths. And the first noble truth is the truth of suffering. There is suffering. A lot of people don't like that, so they don't get into Buddhism because they say, "Oh, Buddha said life is suffering. That's so pessimistic." Buddha just opened his eyes. When he was awakened, they said, "What happened to you?" And he said, "I woke up." They said, "So what does it mean to be Buddha?" He said, "I'm just awake. I'm just aware." And that's so profound. And I hope to guide you in meditations tonight that'll move us more into that state of being awake, being clear, being present, being now. Because again, that monk, that nun who sewed, breathing in, breathing out, but realizing every breath, every needle is saving all sentient beings, because that's what a bodhisattva does. It's a full-time job. Even if they ask you to sit at home, you're still doing deep spiritual practice. Like a lot of us have gone through the hypnotherapy training. We have our own unique trainings and teachings that we follow. This is what we've trained for, right? This is that moment where I'm going to say interpersonal hypnotherapists are asked to culminate all their knowledge and wisdom, maybe go into retreat for a little while, because we're asked to do that, which is a good thing, and then launch that in this most amazing way, because we've been training for this our whole lives. So the Bodhisattva Vow says, "Sentient beings are numberless. I vow to save them all." You don't have to be gloriously enlightened. You don't have to achieve what Buddha did under the Bodhi tree. In Sanskrit, that's called Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, complete unexcelled awakening, as high as you can go in the mystical teachings. Who cares? Sentient beings are numberless. I vow to save them all. But to do that, right, then we have to be healed healers ourselves. So I said I'd acknowledge a bit of Course in Miracles tonight. You might be relieved that I won't necessarily talk too much about what A Course in Miracles is tonight, but we can do a future class on that. There's 365 lessons in A Course in Miracles, basically one for each day. And one of the lessons says, "I need do nothing." Now keep in mind, this is a course on miracles. Miracles meant to heal the mind, to basically heal everything. Miracles that are rooted in forgiveness, that are rooted in love, that are really made for what's called the atonement, the at-one-ment, the collective freedom from all suffering, you could say. When all beings are free of suffering, that's the atonement, that's the at-one-ment. It requires everybody to do their part, because in A Course in Miracles as well, salvation is not an individual process. It happens for all of us. And again, this all in it together theme, A Course in Miracles teaches that we all go together, or we don't go at all, right? You can't bliss out in meditation and not be aware of the intimacy of all things. If you go into deep meditation and then you just turn on the news and you hear about how many people who just die at a very slow painful death, right? Not to be too morbid tonight, but to be real, dying of COVID-19 is like this horrible, painful drowning experience. I don't know exactly, but I've heard enough to say, you don't want that. So again, stay at home. So of course, in Miracles has the idea of, I need do nothing. Yet that's how I save all sentient beings. So when I first heard the Bodhisattva Vow, I was like, that's really intimidating. I'm supposed to, I'm asked to, something is like, there's kind of a should in deep spiritual literature about, not that we're into shoulds here, but this like idea, this highly recommended idea that you say, I'm going to save all sentient beings. That sounds like a lot of work. And I didn't take the vow for a long time, so I didn't understand it. And when you do take the vow, like really in a monastic setting, it's a serious thing. You will spend probably 7 years of intense spiritual practice, and then you just like in the monastery, it's like 7 days of isolation, meditating on the vow. When you take it, it's taken publicly, and you mean it. And you say, there's 4 levels to the vow, not levels, but 4 aspects of it. But the first one that's relevant tonight, sentient beings are numberless, meaning beings who can feel are numberless. I vow to save them all. It is impossible vow. You can't ever achieve it, but you must, right? Because we're all in it together. And again, that's not just a new thing they're saying on the news. That is an intrinsic, deep metaphysical principle that you do not ever achieve liberation just by yourself, because there is no yourself. There's no individual you. There's a big sea of atoms doing this thing called life, right? This thing called evolution, this thing called creation, whatever you want to call it, it's happening. And however you want to, I had students, of course, email me and say, well, what is your take on what's going on now? My honest response is, there's probably a lot of spiritual answers going around right now about, I don't know, trying to give us consolation for why we have COVID-19, right? In the olden days of religion, it would have been some kind of moral problem, right? We must have sinned, we must have done something wrong. In Zen, we say, I don't know that, right? There's no scientific proof that we all sinned and therefore it's happening. Or angels are doing this to try to bless us, to help us come back to, I don't know, right? Or, it's a karmic, I don't know. If you're really honest, you don't know why this is happening. The Bodhisattva, though, who's awake, who's clear, who sees, in A Course in Miracles, one of the lessons is, above all else, I want to see. I saw a bumper sticker once, it said, if you're not appalled, you're not looking. And I don't mean appalled, I'm just quoting the bumper sticker, but I mean, if this doesn't move you to intense compassion, you're just not looking. When you meditate, when you call it deep hypnosis, but my experience of meditation is it goes deeper than most of the hypnosis teachings. Hypnosis is a really nice way to learn to get, and we'll do a little bit to it, a nice way to get centered and clear, but then the rabbit hole does go a lot deeper. All I can say is no matter how deep you go down that rabbit hole, you always come back to the here and now in your human body or with your human body, having this human experience, realizing sentient beings are numberless and they're suffering. So when Buddha said life is suffering, he's just saying, kind of like a duh, they're suffering. And it's not something to laugh about, really. It's just they're suffering. And then he said there's a cause of suffering. There's a way to eliminate the cause of suffering, and he gave a way to do it. And there's many ways to do it. What I'm encouraging those of us who are interested in this now is to plunge into those kind of teachings, right? To utilize all your spiritual hypnotherapy, NLP, life coaching, whatever resources you have. And it's like gathering our energy right now until we go out there in mass. And I know there's a lot of online hypnotherapy going on now. Personally, I haven't given a stance on that yet from our association. I'm still kind of feeling out the waters about what is our take about online sessions. But honestly, part of why we had to cancel the conference, of course, was COVID-19, but why we're not doing it online, like I said earlier, is the connection for all of us to come together in person, to hug each other, to support each other. Interpersonal hypnotherapy was always rooted in 2 people sitting down in the same room. And in my sutras on Healing and Enlightenment book and in the model of interpersonal hypnotherapy, it's ideally you being, in this, the Course in Miracles term, a healed healer. Somebody who understands, I need do nothing. I can be perfectly present in the moment. And I'm asking you to do that now. Kind of meditate with me now as we're having this discussion. Be really present right now. And when you sit down in front of your client who is suffering, you are so incredibly empowered with the teachings we have to do something wonderful for them. So I'm not saying that we as interpersonal hypnotherapists in the school need to formally take Bodhisattva vows. It's a very deep personal thing that you might consider doing. But if anything, I hope this beginning talk, and we'll go into some meditation soon, open to Q&A. Definitely look at the chat pod. I invite you to use the chat pod in a moment. To go through some meditations and really help this to be something that we embody. Right? And one of the meditations I'll guide you on tonight, which some of you may have done with me before, I'm sure a lot of you have not. It's a meditation that comes out of the NLP tradition, neuro-linguistic programming, called the Healing States of the Masters. I've modified it a lot. I've written about it in my book, Interpersonal Hypnotherapy. And in many ways, a lot of the meditations we do and can do even tonight are journeys up to the top of the mountain, which is kind of metaphorical for transcending the whole human experience, right? On the top of the mountain, everybody down there might be suffering, but it's okay. You know, I literally live on the top of the mountain. And when I go down, like literally, you know, down from the mountain, I am aware of just how much suffering is out there, how much poverty is there, how much sickness is there, how much violence is there. You know, again, like we can try to be all rosy and peachy about things in a school like this, but the truth is there is suffering, and it's still there. And what else can you do except find out who you truly are? Like the Enlightenment teachings are to know who we truly are, and that does take an inner journey. In the book Conversations with God, the line is, if you don't go within, you go without. Right? If you don't go deep inside of yourself and find the peace, the joy, the love, the bliss, the experience of oneness inside your own being, you're missing something huge. And a big part of, and then you don't have that to give. So we teach Course in Miracles idea, we teach what we are. We teach what we are. If you're sick, you teach sickness. And so like right now, thank God, you know, I'm not sick, but I'm aware that other people are. That makes me want to be of service. Right now, I'm financially secure, financially free. A lot of people are not right now. That makes me want to be of service. Right? I get to sit at home in a beautiful home in the woods, in the mountains. A lot of people are not having that. That makes me want to help those who are homeless and those who are not as privileged. Right? I get to exercise, and I'm encouraging you guys to exercise now that you're at home. Take great care of your body. Get in great shape. Get in better shape than ever before. A lot of people are not. But when you are, you feel motivated to help others to get in shape. A lot of what we teach in the school is the Life Mastery course. It's a major part of what I do at the school, and I introduce in that PowerPoint. It helps you to find success in every aspect of your life. So spiritually, are you really fulfilled? Do you have that to give to others? Mentally, emotionally, are you really healthy? Is your heart open? Like I said, we'll do one of these Monday night classes on opening the heart and clearing emotional blocks. This is a chance for us, and I'm honored to be the one who's guiding us to doing these classes, to help everybody I'm talking to, ever watch these videos, to be spiritually clear, spiritually really, really turned on and connected, whatever, however you see that. What is Abraham Hicks? Tuned in, tapped in, plugged in, tuned in, whatever she says. Whatever Abraham says that, like tapped in, tuned on, something like that. To be in that state. Like most of the time, consistently there most of the time, because if not, you're teaching something else. Mentally, emotionally healthy. Again, most people don't know how to deal with their emotions. They suppress their emotions. They block their hearts. They cause a lot of psychosomatic illness. We as interpersonal hypnotherapists have the way to resolve that. And we have the ability to get people spiritually, mentally, emotionally aligned, which is the greatest thing we can do for our physical health. Right? And then we have all the tools and techniques, hypnotic programming, neuro-linguistic programming, whatever, to motivate us to take great care of our bodies. So to exercise, to get in better shape than you've ever been in your whole life. I'm doing P90X. You can look into it. It's awesome. It's intense. It's not for everybody. It's like an hour a day of really intense, every kind of fitness you can get into. So I'm doing that now that I'm stuck at home, eating impeccably, drinking a whole lot. So that's being spiritually, mentally, emotionally aligned. Then career and finances. Even though it's a challenging time with our Life Mastery course and Manifesting Prosperity course, which, you know, available for our students. It's available on our website. You can dive into those teachings and start to get your mind in the right place to create an awesome life. And, you know, quantum physics teaches us there aren't particles out there aren't waves out there, there's probabilities out there, right? They don't know what's out there. It's just a big probability field, right? It's a field of infinite possibility or probability. I can't guarantee, I thought 2020 was going to be awesome, right? But it doesn't matter. When we set goals, there's no unrealistic goal, only unrealistic timeframes. Sentient beings are numberless. I vow to save them all. Well, when's that going to happen? I don't know, but I'm not going to stop until it's done. Right? Now, if we set a goal, 2020, all beings are free of suffering. If it doesn't occur, it's not going to occur, then we just move the goal, the date forward, right? So if your goals for 2020 kind of got aboshed, then we set it for 2021, but we never stop, because what else are you going to do, right? You're either evolving and improving or becoming a tadpole again, you know, like devolving, going back into Earth, right? There's either yin and yang harmonize, right? They get to a place where they balance out again, or death occurs, right? And that's just Taoist philosophy. Yin and yang, male, female, your homeostasis, your harmony with the environment must occur, or death occurs. And we're seeing that now. If you can't maintain homeostasis with the environment, if your immune system can't keep up with what's going on, you know, this isn't some weird metaphysical thing. People are dying all around us because their systems aren't strong enough to keep up with that. Again, one of the best things we as interpersonal hypnotherapists can do is be healed healers, be with a strong, healthy immune and digestive system. Because again, when you're, not again, it's in our school's teachings, and again, it's anatomy, physiology, basic stuff. When you get stuck in fight or flight mode, when you're stressed, when you're afraid, when you're anxious, which a lot of people are right now, two of your bodily systems must get compromised so you can go into that fight or flight mode. The two systems that compromise when you get stressed, your immune system and your digestive system. In A Course in Miracles, the teaching is peace is health. Peace is health. How many people are at peace right now? So next week, my class will be Peace Under All Circumstances. I'll make my book available. I had to say it verbally because I kept not doing it, but now I'm giving my word, so I'll do it. We'll take my book, the audio book, A Peace Under All Circumstances, put it on YouTube for free, and I'll put the meditations there as well. And I encourage you, listen to them, and they work. I'm not saying I'm at peace all the time, but those of you who know me, I'm pretty consistent with this stuff. But anyway, even if I'm not there, I'll just practice my own teachings that I've learned over the years and get back to a state of peace. So peace is health. I was saying, and then I'll move on. In our Life Mastery course, we have major levels of our being we work to make successful. Spirituality, to me, that's a high priority, the highest priority. Mental, emotional health. Again, we have really powerful open heart teachings for that, other yogic psychology teachings on that, great hypnotherapy teachings on that. Physical health, financial freedom, or career and financial health, relationship health. Let me encourage everybody during this time, the model there is only loving and harmonious relationships. Right? None of us here are doing anything that's going to be hurtful to anybody in any way. And that's really the essence of our school. Again, it's loving service, it's compassionate service. But this relates to all of our relationships, right? So your significant other, your family, your friends, and anybody you can be of service to during this time. You want to feel, not you want to, but you can feel successful in the relationship category. And then there are other categories like your home, your education, your transportation, travel, vacation. We want to be successful in all those categories. But when we're asked to stay home, why not nourish the spiritual, the mental, emotional, the physical health, the career and finances, even if you're just laying the foundation for future success, and your relationships. Those are the top 5. So with that said, I'm going to go to the chat pod. I saw at least one question there. Let's open it up to anybody else who wants to type, ask questions, and then I'll take in a few meditations. I'm not sure how long tonight's class will be. I decided not to determine that, just to see how it goes organically. So one of our attendees said, this is before, I'm not sure if I know exactly what you're saying. Is it like a Bible parable, a command to save, but you know, she said, not totally possible except maybe with help, everyone doing their part to help. Gotcha. I'm not sure which biblical parable you might be referring to, yet I'm a student of world religion. Like my main thing in college, even though you can't make a great living with this, so I didn't go on that path, is I'm a religious scholar. I still to this day study this stuff in depth. And again, every tradition, not just one. So all I can say is if you study the deep Judeo-Christian Islamic teachings, they're all about service to others, and they acknowledge. So go biblical on you just a little bit, again, just pulling from many traditions tonight. In the Bible, in Genesis, there was a problem that occurred in the beginning. Adam and Eve did something not so good, I guess, and they went on this long guilt trip. And there's been a lot of suffering ever since. And in Course in Miracles, it says there has never been a collective awakening since that time. Everybody fell asleep, like it says literally in the Bible, a deep sleep fell upon Adam, and nowhere is it written of a collective awakening for all beings yet. The idea of awakening is the means of enlightenment, the means of the atonement, the means of the at-one-ment, is, I believe, what we're all asked to do in every spiritual religious tradition, and go on and on about the deep mystical branches of Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Taoism. You get into Sufism, Zen Buddhism, Kabbalah. All these teachings all speak about knowing who you truly are. So again, I'll lead us in some meditations tonight that are really essentially designed for the idea of awakening. And if you do read my book, The Sutras on Healing and Enlightenment, it's not just about healing the mind, to heal the body, to heal the world. It's about the enlightenment process, which is a very deep psychological inner process. I don't know a better word for that, where measurable, legitimate, very real shifts occur where you're not who you were before you started. So they say, best not to begin that journey at all, but once begun, better finish. And I know in many ways I'm preaching to the choir here about people who are on a spiritual path, who realize it's not just about your own personal liberation here. There are a lot of sentient beings. So again, Bodhisattva Vow, sentient beings are numberless. I vow to save them all. All right, thank you. That was from Amanda talking about the role of the Bodhisattva. Yeah, I'm not sure which biblical parable again there, but thank you for engaging with me. I would just say, even though the word Bodhisattva or the word like saints, sages, the Christ, these beings, they are awakened to who they truly were, and their lives always become service to others. Even the monks who are sitting alone in Himalayan caves right now, and believe me, they exist. I've meditated with them. Like that's real. There are monks in the Himalayas meditating right now. You will never know who they are, but they are blessing this world. Here's one teaching to go into that might be helpful in the stay-at-home order and deep spirituality. In the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, which I like to do a whole class on, at least an aspect of it. It's a pretty deep book that can take many Monday night classes. But in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, we have what's called Ashtanga Yoga. You hear it in the West pronounced Ashtanga Yoga. The A's are a little extra when they transliterate it in the West. So Ashtanga Yoga means the 8 limbs or 8 branches of yogic practice. This stuff the Buddha was practicing way back when. The Yoga Sutras officially weren't written down until about 200 AD. Buddha was around 5 to 600 BC. However, those yogic teachings were there, and that's what he was practicing. All right, so in the Yoga Sutras, we have the 8 limbs, and the 3rd limb, a lot of you know this word, is called asana, but more properly pronounced asan. Asana means seat or posture. It's when we simply sit down. Don't move and just meditate. So I hope those of you who are still here and grooving on this class is kind of a form of a meditation, at least guiding you into deeper states as we'll progress. Just sitting, being right here now, like looking into my eyes, if that's what's kind of hypnotic, right? Look into my eyes. But seriously, be with me right here now, just being fully present with each other, letting go of the past, letting go of the future. You're just right here. Whatever position your body is in, just become aware of that right now. I'm not sitting in a lotus position like I would if I was in a formal deep meditation. Just sitting in my office chair talking to you, but I'm aware of my body posture. That's called asana. So the asanas you hear about in yogic practice are all those stretches. But all those stretches the ancient yogis knew were meant to keep you healthy and strong, give you balance, get you relaxed. But all of that was designed to get you to sit for a long period of time in meditation. So when you come into the present moment, you take this seat, the posture, like assume the position, You assume the position of meditation. You just sit. There's a lot of things that are happening when you're just sitting. You're not lying. You're not stealing. You're not killing. You're not misusing your sexuality. You're not doing things that harm other people. So just sitting, when you have a monk just sitting in a cave, like, what did they ask us to do when the most horrible thing ever happened, in our lifetime, right? And I think COVID-19 is arguably one of the most horrible things that have ever happened, certainly in our lifetimes. And what they ask us to do, stay home and do nothing. That is the deepest spiritual teaching. Course in Miracles, again, I need do nothing. In the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, the way you achieve enlightenment, one of the 8 ways, is sit there and do nothing. In Zen, when you practice the deepest teachings of Zen practice, Zazen, the deepest meditative teachings, the teaching is called Shikantaza. And Shikantaza means just sitting. And to just sit is the enlightened state. You don't achieve enlightenment. You are Buddha right now. You are awareness right now. You are consciousness right now. You are spirit right now. You are peace, love, bliss, joy, pure power, pure potentiality right now. Again, I like to say, if anybody tells you otherwise, they just haven't gone on that journey. You are pure peace right now. And all of your power is right here now. And if you're just listening to my words, all of you is here right now. And you are that being. In Hinduism, they say, Tat Twamasi, thou art that. In Sufism, the great mystic Al-Halaj, I haven't said this in a while, Al-Halaj said, when he realized who he was, he declared, An al-Haq. And in Islam, you don't say that. An al-Haq means, I am the truth. I am the supreme reality. You don't say that in the Judeo-Christian Islamic traditions on the surface, but you go to their deeper mystical branches, they're all saying the same thing. Tat Twamasi, thou art that. You are the part of God happening as you. And that makes you extremely powerful. Without, like in hypnosis, we narrow the field of attention, right? I say, look into my eye, that kind of stuff. I'm capturing your attention. I'm distracting you from anything else. Like, look right here. Not really doing it, but maybe I am. All right, it's kind of a conversational hypnosis idea. Like, but why wouldn't you want to be hypnotized into being happy, being joyful, being free in the midst? Free, it's a good word I haven't used yet tonight much. When the state of what's called Jivan Mukta, Jivana Mukti, or Jivana Mukta in deep Hindu yogic philosophy is a fully liberated being, someone who's completely free. How can you teach that if you don't have that, right? But by being fully present, you realize you are free because you are spirit, you are consciousness, you are aware, and you are free. To move into that state, which again is peace, and peace is health, then we can teach it, and we teach what we are. All right, let's see what else is in the chat pod. There's a lot. I'm not going to get to everybody, so thank you everybody who shared. All right. One comment said, and, quote, all suffering. How is that possible? That's the question, isn't it? A large segment of suffering is perceptional. Suffering is needed for personal growth by knowing what you don't want. You know what you do want. Nice. And number 3, suffering is incentive for global society expansion. Thank you. That's awesome. I won't say your name since we're not doing that, but I'm going to answer those to the best of my ability, and thank you for those questions. End all suffering, question mark, how is it possible? The Bodhisattva Vow says it's not. Sentient beings are numberless. I vow to save them all. Right? It's an impossible vow, but what else are you going to do? Right? There is suffering. You're either part of the solution to help to relieve that, or you're not. So if there's suffering, if I see that in front of me, which I do, right? I turn on the news, right? I go to the grocery store, I see what's happening. You're either working to relieve it or you're not. So to me, the Bodhisattva Vow says, I don't know, right? In Zen, it's called don't know mind, beginner's mind. I don't know anything, but I turn on the news and they're suffering. I don't have metaphysical philosophies about that. I just see their suffering. I'm working to be of service. So is it possible? According to most, well, in A Course in Miracles, the idea of the atonement, the collective awakening that hasn't happened yet, could take millions of years. But through performing the miracle, which is again a very deep topic of what is a miracle in A Course in Miracles, the miracle collapses time. It says what would have happened eventually can happen sooner. Right? So if you say, well, all beings could be free of suffering in 10 million years, right? Once we figure it all out. But what if we could do it in 5 million years? We have hypnotic language patterns for this, right? What if I could alleviate your pain? Like right now, if you have pain, just listen to my voice. What if it took me a week to help get rid of that? What if you had to come into my office and meet with me for 1 day a week, for 7 times? It would cost you, whatever. But then I say, well, what if we can do it in 5 sessions? You're like, what if we can do it in 4? What if we can do it in 1? Why can't we do it in an hour? If we can alleviate your suffering or pain in an hour, why can't I do it in a minute? The miracle is the shifts in perception that allow that to happen. So this question said, a large segment of suffering is perceptual. Absolutely. So we're in total agreement. You wrote that great question. Suffering is perceptual. When in A Course in Miracles, we have what are called wrong perceptions. We have right perceptions, but then we have awakening. Wrong perceptions are things like I'm unlovable, I'm bad, I'm stupid, I'm useless, I'm not deserving, I'm ugly, I'm shameful, I deserve to be punished, I'll never amount to anything, everybody's better than me, I'm nothing, I'm worthless, I'm useless. I've heard that stuff for over 22 years now as a hypnotherapist. I know it's in everybody's subconscious mind. Everybody's saying that to themselves all the time. It's a huge perceptual illusion. As hypnotherapists, we can correct those errors. It's not just negative thinking, it's just completely erroneous. Nobody's unlovable, nobody's stupid, nobody's bad, nobody's shameful. Those beliefs are perceptual errors that we can correct through really powerful mind technologies, right? Through hypnotherapy, neurolinguistic programming, we can shift all those negative perceptions into much healthier, more positive, more loving, healthier ways of thinking. We can shift perceptions out of suffering. And then beyond just the shift into positive awareness, the shift into awakening. The shift into awakening says, you are peace right now. You are love right now. You can relieve suffering because you can be totally free of suffering. In the Heart Sutra of Buddhism, it teaches a certain mantra, and it says this mantra relieves all suffering and pain. This is the truth, not a lie. So either the Heart Sutra, which every single Zen Buddhist center and monastery in the world chants, every single day, they chant the Heart Sutra. And it says, basically that one thing. This mantra, I'm not saying this one mantra is the only way, but it's a way. It's saying that this one practice, a deep practice called Prajnaparamita, the deep teachings of, you might say deep insightful meditation is a simple translation of that. In deep insightful meditation, Prajnaparamita, we do reach a state, and I'm saying we, like we, not just those guys in the monasteries, we reach the state where there's no pain and suffering. You can do that through deep meditation. Hypnosis is a nice way to get into it. But again, the hypnotic teachings only go so far. The mystical teachings are thousands of years old, teach us how to go so deep into our own consciousness. You have no suffering and no pain. Pain is perceptual. So our wonderful classmate here, our attendee who asked the question, isn't suffering perceptual? Absolutely. Pain is perception. You don't experience pain in your body. Whatever happens to your body that makes you think you have pain are nerve impulses that go up into your brain. Your brain interprets those as a very uncomfortable sensation we call pain. But we know in hypnosis, we can completely block that. We can do full arm, leg amputations, thyroidectomies, root canals, hernia surgeries. All these videos are in our school's library of completely pain-free childbirth, dental procedures, amputations. Pain is not in the body. It's in the mind. Now, when somebody's feeling pain, it's very real for them, but we have ways to shift those perceptions and to alleviate pain. In deep meditation, you're perfectly at peace. When you're sleeping at night, you're not suffering. During deep sleep, there's no pain and no suffering. In yogi philosophy, we have what are called 4 states: the waking state, the dream state, and the deep sleep state. But there's a 4th state called turiya, literally the 4th state or the questionless state of mind. And in turiya, just like in deep sleep, there's no pain and no suffering. The difference is turiya is the meditative state. And in the meditative state, there is no pain and suffering. Now, are we all in it all the time? No, but can we be? Yes. So that's why, to me, the deep mystical teachings, like going in a cave and meditating. They say, how am I saving all sentient beings? Well, first of all, stay at home. That's one of the best teachings right now to stop coronavirus. Stay at home. Do asana. Sit in meditation. Don't do anything. I need do nothing. Just shikantaza and Zen. Just sit. And you're saving all sentient beings by just staying at home. But by relieving pain and suffering in you and finding peace, love, and joy in you, finding your abilities to heal others in you, you go out there when it's time and you start to heal the world. So thank you. And then the other part of the question here, suffering needed for personal growth. It is for a lot of people. You can grow through pain or you can go through joy, right? So I like the model of going through ever new joy. Right? You can find ever new joy in meditation. To me, that's what motivates my growth. But for a lot of people, yeah, pain and suffering is a very powerful way to get them to grow. A lot of people get into spiritual teachings because they were suffering so much. They're trying to get out of that suffering. Others who didn't suffer a lot have awakenings early on in life. And they realize, like, whoa, this is who I am. I am the light. I am an angel. I am pure being. I am free. Wow. And then you realize, of course, other people aren't. And you go into deep spiritual teachings again to tap into that more and more, but to be of service to others more and more. So yeah, I would agree with the question given. One way to grow is through pain, but the other is just increasing movements into love. Or what we say in core transformation in hypnotherapy or NLP, not mentioning many names tonight, it's not giving credit, but from core transformation, one of the major questions is what would be even better? So I grow with that model. What would be even better? What would be even better? There's a lot of suffering out there. What would be even better? Find a way to get N95 masks to the frontline medical workers. Right? We're not denying taking really practical action, but we're doing it to make better, not because pain and suffering motivates us. If pain and suffering motivate us, then technically they become our God, right? You know, the biblical quote, thou shalt have no false gods before me. Well, using the G word, God is love. And if love motivates me to action, that is my God. Love is my God. My God is love. But if pain and suffering motivate us, if they're the source of our personal growth, then that's what's motivating us. And therefore, we're worshiping it. What we value, we tend to strengthen. Ideas that we share are strengthened, right? So if we really believe pain and suffering are great for our personal growth, then, you know, if I have a client who comes in and says, I need to have pain and suffering so I can grow, I would say, did you come in here for me to punch you? Like, why are you asking for pain and suffering? So the Bodhisattva Vow says we can eliminate that. But because people worship it, value it, share the idea and think it's important, we're perpetuating it. Ideas that are shared or strengthened. So what I'm sharing are ideas that say more love, more compassion, more peace, more joy, more deep meditation, where you go into sadhana, spiritual practice, find out who you really are, and bless the world with who you really are. We can teach and practice forgiveness. It's a main way of being. And once everybody's forgiven, we just practice blessing. What would happen if you got to the place where you've forgiven everyone your whole life? Then what would you do that inner mental mechanism? You would just keep blessing everybody, keep making better, keep making better. Thank you, I love this question. And number 3 on that question was suffering is incentive for global society expansion. I would say the same thing. Incentive is just saying what motivates. And again, I'm going to say love motivates, light motivates, peace motivates. Thank you. I deeply respect the question. Next one, if you are familiar with the concept of archons, I don't think I am, within Gnosis, can you speak to how this fits into the liberation of all beings? Honestly, I'm not familiar with the term, so I will humbly move on. Thank you, though. Somebody wrote here, do nothing, in quotes, takes a lot of pressure off. Isn't it beautiful? If one of the most profound spiritual teachings that I've come across on the planet called A Course in Miracles, which I really trust. I'm not saying you have to, I'm not preaching any one tradition here, obviously, but I've really come to trust what's written in A Course in Miracles. And if it says, I need do nothing, I've done that for years. It's so beneficial to just do nothing. Just sit on the porch and look at the trees. It's very liberating, and it doesn't spread coronavirus. Thank you. Another response, doing nothing is not possible. It says, because for one, the energy a person is transmitting is attracting something and thus actively doing something. Well, same person who said that, and thank you. You can do nothing. When I meditate, I want to guide us into some of that tonight. And yeah, so anyway, when you do samadhi meditation, your body's completely still. And you can do this right now as I'm talking to you. So you don't have to do anything too special. You kind of do, but you can do it right now. Just body's totally still. Breathing becomes really still. Just barely breathe. And then we start to withdraw our attention inwards. Even though my eyes are open, I'm pulling my attention away from the external world. In yogic practice called pratyahara. I'm pulling away from my senses. I don't need to know what's happening outside of my room right now. So I'm asking you to do this as well right now. I'm just staring right at the camera, like you're the object of meditation. I'm pulling away from the external world right here. Then there's something called Dharana Dhyan Samadhi, the deepest aspects of the Yoga Sutras. Dhyan is pure concentration, so I'm fully focused on you right now. And you, not just a camera, but like the people I'm talking to. Dhyan is meditation, totally present. Samadhi is a word for oneness, totally one with whatever I'm meditating on. That's essentially doing nothing. But what happens in that? Pure light happens in that. Pure love happens in that. Again, we could argue why this isn't real, but I'm telling you, I'm pulling my consciousness into one source right here, present moment, and everything becomes pure light. There's only pure light. Anyone who tells you otherwise just hasn't experienced it. You could call that enlightened. I don't care what we call it. I'm not claiming anything, but I'm saying it becomes a habit to come right so into the present moment that your inner being lights up. In one of the scriptures of Hinduism called the Uddhava Gita, it's not a well-known scripture. It says, when your mind's light becomes steady and bright, all ignorant notions will fade out of sight. The false sense of ego will then disappear, and the world of appearance will bind you no more. Your mind will be peaceful, absorbed in the self. You'll look on all others with equality. Beyond good and evil, with ego dispelled, to nothing attached, you'll then become free. These are the deeper spiritual teachings, and they're real. So to me, it's very practical, right? If I can do nothing and find perfect peace, and do nothing doesn't mean action doesn't occur. In Taoism, we have what's called Wu Wei, effortless action, right? So I'm doing nothing, but talking is still happening, teaching is still happening. Technically, this is how I run my business, right? I teach, people listen, they sign up and take classes. I'm still teaching, but really, teaching is happening. I'm watching teaching happen. Next week, we'll go into my peace under all circumstances teachings. The only way you can be at peace under all circumstances is you must know who you are spiritually, because you are peace. You don't make the world at peace to be at peace. That'll never happen in your lifetime, right? And you can't make your body always at peace, because it's not always comfortable. Can't make your emotions always at peace, because they're not always at peace. But you, the spiritual being, the consciousness, the one I'm really talking to, you are peace. So that'll be next week's class. So yeah, by doing nothing, practicing doing nothing, practicing with the great mystics, like the monks in Zen monasteries, the deepest ones in the Soto Zen school, are practicing shikantaza, just sitting. We can do it. And it's what our government is asking us to do. And I'm all for that, especially because I'm a monk. So that's all cool. I'll stay at home and do nothing any day. All right, thank you. The one who was just talking to you, I really appreciate you. All right. Somebody said that's such a good point. Sitting can take away so many bad possibilities in physical action. And thank you. In the yoga teachings of Patanjali, the Ashtanga Yoga path, the 8 limbs, I mentioned 8 limbs, 3 to 8. And I kind of guided you on those just now. The first 2 limbs are called yam and niyam. And a lot of those are the injunctions, moral principles for living a good life. Don't steal, don't lie, don't kill, keep your body clean. I mean, that's in there, cleanliness. That's a few of them. But the reason we don't have to mention those much is because when you just sit, you stop all the negativity you're doing. If everybody would just sit right now, stay at home and just sit, coronavirus would stop existing. If you meditated the way they meditate in the Himalayas, coronavirus would stop existing. Literally, just take that in for a moment. I know this is so profound. I mean, you might think I'm crazy to say it. I hear what I'm saying. I haven't said this verbally publicly, but really, think about it. That's what they're asking us to do. Every single person just, I'm not saying we can do it. I know people have to go to work and we need people out there, caregiving professions. I get it. I'm not stupid. But I'm saying if the majority of us did what they told us to do, just stay home and meditate. But don't just stay home and get bored and depressed. Meditate and become enlightened. Meditate and find the peace of God inside of you. Meditate and connect to those of you who are into Judeo-Christian thought, the Holy Spirit. There's an inner guidance voice. There's a voice of wisdom and comfort, right? What did Christ say? He said, I will send unto you the great comforter. That's there. That's there. You can call it whatever you want. You can say you're Christian or not, but there is a voice that comforts you inside. It's there. I hear it all the time, so I'm not willing to say it's not there. When we find it, only in the silence of our own soul. What is that? One of the Psalms, to be a little biblical on you? It says, be still and know that I am God. It doesn't say run around like crazy. I can get worried and stressed. It just says, be still and know God. Again, I don't use the G word very much because we're not a religious thing. But I do want to open up the spiritual teachings for Monday night class. So we can use whatever word we want for spirit. But if I'm pulling from every tradition, which essentially tells you, just be still. Go inside. And remember, hypnotic inductions, when I say look into my eye, I'm doing that to you. I'm capturing your attention. I'm getting you right here now. And then I'm guiding you inside yourself. Hypnosis is a refocusing of attention, usually away from the external world into an inner reality. But again, hypnotic teachings only go so far. It's the deep meditative teachings that help to open us up to the incredible bliss that's inside of every human being. When you find that, you find inherent goodness and you stop hurting others. You would never, when you realize you're the self, the one self, and there's only the one self, we're all in it together, right? We're all one being. That's what the Bodhisattva Vow is about. We're all one being. If I tap into, wow, I'm inherently good. My true nature is Buddha nature. My true nature is compassion. I'll never harm anybody else. It's the most practical thing we can do. Okay? I'm not just saying it because our government is asking us to, right? All right, nice. Someone said a shift in perception, great wisdom. Thank you. That's very much a Course in Miracles teaching. Makes sense as it ends all suffering, as ends all confusion, someone said. Ending suffering through ego control. Beautiful, thank you. I'll comment on the word control there and just say, not so much, even though I know it, I'll be gentle with the word of critiquing, but the statement again is end suffering through ego control. The ego doesn't really exist. It's like if the room is really dark, but you turn on a light, where'd the darkness go? If you come to the model, there is no ego. There's nothing to control. So why does the Course in Miracles, which is 1,000 pages, have the majority of the book, almost 1,000 pages dedicated to the ego? Because there's nothing wrong with spirit. Spirit is just light, love. It's right here now. It's, you could think of it as like something up there in the clouds or, in heaven. But what if it's everywhere? And what if you are that? What if I am that? If we just come from that one premise, I am consciousness, consciousness is spirit, consciousness is bliss, consciousness is love, then there's nothing to control. So in the deep meditative teachings, there's a word, the second sutra, the Yoga Sutra, says, Yoga Chit Vritti Nirodha. The state of yoga, the state of oneness with spirit, oneness with source, is achieved when the fluctuations of your mind move into what's called the Nirod state. Nirod is often translated as cessation of thought or suppression of thoughts, and therefore there's no ego. If there's no mind, there's no ego. But Nirod happens in deep samadhi meditation. The mind gets totally calm, meaning no mind. Like right now, if I just look at you, there's no mind, nobody home. It's just clear. Yet when I'm clear, I am who I am, right? I am, isn't that when they asked Jesus, who are you? He said, I am that which I am, right? That's like where I am. And then, anyway, there's a lot of I am stuff in the Bible. That teaching of just I am, if we meditate on I am, don't try to control the ego, just I am. Then that's it. You are who you are, and you already are that being. So thank you, everybody. Okay. There's an explanation on the Gnostic question, but I'll read it later, maybe commented on. Oh, okay. Let's see. We'll have fun with it. This is new to me. Archons are, in Gnosticism and religions closely related to it, demonic, and comment on that, demonic entities, subordinate to the embodiment of evil in the corresponding belief system. Let's comment on it a little, and then let's go into some guided meditation for us tonight, for those who would like to stay and do that. In our hypnotherapy training and altered state work, we're very aware of what we call entity attachment. The idea that there are other beings who are non-physical, who influence humans, right? That's been there. It's in the Bible. That's what Jesus was doing when he was performing his miracles. It's not to say there aren't negative people or beings out there, both physical and non-physical. What I would say, and we're not Gnostic here in that, in the most formal sense of the word, and being as like his own path, its own religion in a sense. But what I would say is when I go to the depth of any human being, I discover only pure goodness. And even when I find the non-physical beings that seem to be with them, and again, there's a whole nother discussion, which we've done in past Monday night classes about entity attachment. No matter how evil they appear to be, my experience is they're just lost souls as well, right? So even Satan, the worst one in the Bible, right? The fallen angel is still an angel, just a lost soul, just a fallen soul. So, excuse me, I come from the model, you don't have to, that everyone is inherently good, and that the one reality is love, and that everything else is our own nightmare and doesn't really exist in the absolute truth. Now, in subjective perceptual reality, it seems like there's a lot of evil, and there's sickness, and there's bad, and there's all that stuff. We can define it as that. Like, for instance, if you have a client who's really angry to the point of rage and hatred, like murderous rage, really, we're not looking at degrees in this kind of work. In miracle-mindedness, we don't look at degrees. We just say, okay, this client is angry. Little angry, a lot angry. They're angry. Why are they angry? Because they're scared. Go look at underneath anger in any human being, and you will see fear. What's underneath all their fear? Hurt. They've been really hurt, and they're really sad, and they're really scared, and they're getting really angry. Right? That's how anger manifests in the hypnotherapy teachings that we abide by here, that I pull from here. You can abide by whatever you want for you guys who are in the school. But, I work with that model that fear causes anger, that hurt causes fear, causes anger. When we heal that in the clients, they're no longer hurt, but they feel happy. They're no longer scared, but they feel at peace. They're no longer angry. They're also at peace. They're coming from a place of forgiveness and love. Any human being can be brought back to that state of being if they're willing to. To me, that is such a huge way to relieve suffering. And a lot of that suppressed emotion that I'm talking about resolving creates tons of psychosomatic illness. I'm not going to go out and say that COVID-19 is a psychosomatic thing. I don't fully get viruses and all that. But what I can say is in our field, we deal with a lot of psychosomatic illness. And with a medical referral, done properly in good, professional, medical, clinical hypnotherapy, we heal psychosomatic illness all the time. So no matter how evil it looks, no matter how bad it looks, I've found that inherent in every human being there is goodness and love. And I've even found that in the beings who seem to latch onto them, that seem to be all negative and evil as well. That's just my take. It's a whole nother topic, but since it was brought up, I touched upon it briefly. All right, so thank you. Question says, is this practice compatible with persons who are Judeo-Christian in their religious beliefs? So if you're asking, is hypnotherapy compatible? The answer is yes. In these Monday night classes, especially with going on now with COVID-19, I'm willing to be a bit more bold about my spirituality, how important it is to me, how important love and light and peace and the enlightenment and healing process is. I just, why hold back anymore in this day and age? But our hypnotherapy school is, very down to earth in a lot of ways. So anybody from any religion can practice hypnotherapy. When you get to our clinical training, a lot of that is very scientific and medical. That works very well for Judeo-Christian. We do get into metaphysical teachings, which I pull from Christian Science, right? So Mary Beccaretti, who studied the Bible in depth, she found really good ways to use the mind to heal the body. And I said, well, how does that work, right? And I studied that a lot. And that's very compatible with the Judeo-Christian perspective. The work of Phineas Parker Quimby, who is the founder of the New Thought movement, was a very deeply religious man. And those teachings have been very compatible with mind-body healing and hypnotherapy. And then as you get into the deeper transpersonal teachings in our school, hypnotherapy does acknowledge the idea, the idea of past life regression. But you don't have to believe in that. When you do past life regression work in hypnotherapy, memories seem like memories come up. Some of them have been documented. So like the quote, Shakespeare of Horatio says, there's more in heaven and earth that are made up in your philosophies or dreamt up in your philosophies. So I believe every religion is looking at an aspect of reality. It doesn't necessarily see all of reality. And some of the things that come up in transpersonal, like entity attachment, the alien abduction phenomena. Well, first of all, if people aren't interested in that, they don't have to take that course in our school. And then those who might be open-minded to it start learning, well, I might not believe it, but my client might believe it. And if my client believes in alien abduction, I probably need to know how to deal with that phenomenon if it comes up. Or if my client believes in entity attachment, or somebody wrote in the chat pod this idea of demonic beings, if my client is convinced they have a demon attached to their body, even if I don't agree with it, I still need to treat it kind of, what's presenting is what I have to deal with. And with past life regression, it's not a traditional Judeo-Christian belief. Not that people love that persuasion, though some people do buy into that, of course. But to me, you can consider that a metaphorical journey where you say, I don't know what just came out of the client. It sounded like a past life story, but maybe it's just a metaphor that helps them to understand who they are now and helps them to maybe learn some lessons or to grow. It's very practical. So yeah, I would say we've had lots of people go through our school who are like real Christian. We have staff members like very Jewish, and there hasn't been any conflict that I've seen with this. Plus, whatever I believe doesn't really mean much anything. The Monday night classes are designed for me to be me, for you to be you. Take what you like, leave what you don't. But when you're in our school, I don't go this hardcore with the spiritual teachings. So thank you, everybody. Somebody said, this is our Gnostic. Thank you so much for your answer. So would the actual empty attachment be considered non-sentient? I think I'm going to comment on that because I've been saying sentient beings are numberless. I vow to save them all. No, the beings that we might call entities, non-physical beings, are sentient. Sentient just means conscious and feeling. Plants, I believe, are sentient. Animals are sentient. Humans are sentient. And any non-physical being, once you do a hypnosis session and the entity attachment phenomena occurs and you're talking to the entity, you never say they're non-sentient. They hear you, they feel you, they have emotional responses, they're terrified of what could happen to them if they're cast out. I'm not saying I understand that whole phenomena, but I am well prepared to deal with it when it comes up in hypnosis. So I would say entities are definitely sentient, but I would say all beings are sentient. And I've taken a vow to save them all. So when I have an entity in my client, I'm working to heal the entity just as much as I am the client, because I just see two souls. I don't know why they latched on together. That's all unnecessary. But they did that, according to the mind of the client. And I want to help to heal not only the client's mind, but the mind of the entity as well, because I'm a healer. That's what I do. Thank you. Somebody wrote, in order for something to exist, its opposite has to exist. Its opposite is the absence of it. Thus, peace can only exist if suffering exists. Beautiful. That's the same person. Thank you. I'm going to give you a quote from A Course in Miracles. You don't have to believe it. That which is real cannot be threatened. That which is unreal does not exist. Herein lies the peace of God. So peace to me absolutely exists without suffering. That's what I'm inviting you to experience. Right? If I can feel perfect peace and not suffer right now, and then right now again, and right now, then I can experience peace without suffering. Therefore, peace is a living reality for me. That's what our next class will be about, next Monday night class. Peace under all circumstances. I could be wrong, but this isn't a philosophical debate for me. It's a practical means of healing the world. And healing does require peace, right? So it's not philosophical for me. We can debate like, you need light to have dark, good to have bad. Yet if I can consistently be in a space of love, so one of the deep teachings is there's only two emotions, fear or love, and it's a choice. If I consistently choose love and not fear, then more and more fear, or let's say fear is less and less in my life. There's more and more love in my life, more peace in my life. Because that seems so beneficial and so pleasurable, that's what I do. That's what I focus on. Meditation, including hypnosis, but we'll just say meditation right now, is what we put our attention on. That's one way to define meditation, what we put our attention on. If I put my attention on suffering over and over and over again because I value it, I will nurture it and strengthen it. If I focus on peace and love and joy and light and healing, that becomes more of my reality, right? So what we put our attention on, we value. What we value, we love. What we love, we value, right? And I love love. Gibran wrote in The Prophet, love is sufficient unto love. So I would simply offer the idea that love is the only reality. Everything else is your own nightmare and doesn't really exist. But nightmares are real for the one who's dreaming. You can have good dreams or bad dreams, but then you can wake up. If you're dreaming of a happy dream, you're still asleep. If you're having a nightmare, you're still asleep. When you wake up, you're not dreaming anymore. And what the great saints and sages teach us is reality. Waking up is joy, is light, is love. That's either true or not true, right? Thoughts are true or not true. If that thought is true, it's worth investing in. If it's not true, well, then there's only suffering, and why bother? All right, thank you, everybody. I appreciate the conversation. Let's go on a meditation. You can log off anytime, stop watching this video at any time. But for those who would like to stay, I'm going to just shut the camera so you don't need to see me. And I'm going to take you on the meditation I mentioned before, Healing States to Masters. We'll see how that goes. This probably wouldn't take very long, like 5 minutes or so, 10 minutes max. And after we do that, maybe we'll do a couple other little things. So hang out with me if you like to, as I'll just stop the video, encouraging you to close your eyes. I'm going to close my eyes. I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm doing and encourage you to just do it with me if you like. And first of all, becoming aware of asana, my body posture. My spine is straight. And I put my feet flat on the earth. My hands are just resting comfortably in my lap. I start to become aware of my breathing with my eyes closed. And let's acknowledge there's a lot going on in the world right now. Yet when you breathe in, just know that you're breathing in. Watch the air move in through your nose. Breathing out, you know you're breathing out. Just watch your breath. And we can start to forget about everything outside of your house right now. Pull your attention into the room that you're sitting in right now. Everything else can wait. You deserve this moment of peace. And as you become aware of your breathing and direct your attention inwards, become aware of your eyelids. You can let your eyelids start to become heavy, as if you're moving behind your closed eyes, letting go of everything outside of your body, even the contents in your room. Nothing outside of your skin really needs your attention right now. Stay at home. Do nothing, just for a moment. And then your breathing gets more and more quiet, and the attention moves inside of yourself, behind your eyes, between your ears. See if you can find that still, quiet place inside of yourself as yourself. Attention perhaps above and between your two physical eyes. Breathing in. Be aware that you're breathing in. Breathing out. Be aware that you're breathing out. And now we'll start to go into the realm of guided imagery, as you can imagine yourself now standing in a field surrounded by beautiful mountains. Imagine beautiful mountains towering up all around you in this big, beautiful valley. Grasses, trees in the distance, perhaps the occasional little stream. Notice the colors of the green grass. Notice the blue sky, perhaps the colors of flowers. Breathing in the fresh mountain air. Yet when you look around you, you're going to notice you're not alone on the planet. Standing in this valley are many others. Now they're all doing their appropriate physical distancing, so you're safe. Yet look around and you'll see people who are young children, people who are older, and people who are considered elderly. Some are healthy, but some are sick. Some have money and homes, but others don't. As you look around and you see humanity, feel through your heart. Look through your eyes, not your physical eyes, but with your eyes closed. Imagine being in this meadow and you see humans and you do notice there is suffering. Now, as you turn and look up towards the top of one of those mountain peaks, you notice that there's light shining down upon everyone in the valley, including you. The light is coming from one source. Now, as you look closer, you might notice this is someone you might know. It might be a Christ or a Buddha. It might be like a Bodhisattva or an angel. Or it might just be a source of pure white light, or perhaps you imagine a certain god or goddess. Anyone that works for you, a person, a saint, an angelic figure, look up towards the top of the mountain and just trust who appears there. Imagine that you open your heart and your hands to receive the light that's shining down upon you. You forget about everything else and just put both eyes on light. Love, peace is shining down upon you. You're taking this moment of reprieve to just take a break and focus on the light. Now imagine, instead of being in your body down in the field, that you float up out of your body. As if you leave your body and float up these rays of light. You feel better and better as you ascend higher and higher. Up there to the top of the mountain where you stand right next to this great being who's sending all this light down to humanity down there. You take a moment to feel honored, yet perhaps humbled, to stand next to such a great being. And now from the top of the mountain, while standing next to this being of light, look down and you see everyone in the valley, including you. There's your body down there. There's family and friends. And there's the ones who are healthy and the ones who are sick, the ones at home, the ones in hospitals. You can't deny that when you look down, it's still happening down there. But notice how it's different on the top of the mountain, looking through your eyes and feeling through your heart. Instead of being in your own being, though, imagine stepping inside now, this being of light who's up there. We might call this your role model. Imagine feeling through this being's heart, looking through their eyes, sensing the light pouring through them. And notice, what do they do inside that makes them such a great being? There's no ego, there's no fear, there's just love. There's just peace. They're not doing anything. They're just a conduit for love and light. There's no pain or suffering. There's just love. Imagine all that love and light shining through you down onto everyone in the valley, as if you're becoming like your role model. Notice how you're totally free here. Nothing can hurt you. Nothing can touch you. Your pure goodness, pure peace, pure love. It's so blissful to be in this state of just being the light. And this is the reminder, you are the light of the world. And as you look down on everyone in the valley, even though the light might make it look like there's just light down there, you can still see those who are suffering. And this is the Bodhisattva Vow. When you say, I'm going to voluntarily come down from the top of the mountain. I'm going to go down there and teach and serve and heal until they're all done suffering, until they stop their nightmares. I will come down into the nightmare as a bodhisattva, as an angel, and I will be of service. Now, you don't have to take a formal vow, yet imagine knowing that you want to be part of the solution with a sense of maturity and with all of your knowledge, wisdom, training, and skill sets, all of it. You realize you've trained for this, and you start to float back down. You're blessed on your whole way down because the light supports you on the journey. You come back down into the fields, and you stand there amongst the healthy and the sick, the old and the young, the ones who have homes and the ones who don't, those who are wealthy, those who are poor, those who are alone, those who have large families. But now notice what's different. One of the key words for this perception is compassion, loving kindness. Take a moment as I'm silent to think about how will you give back now and perhaps staying at home, or perhaps when coronavirus does pass and you can get back out there and really engage your profession. What do you do? How do you do it? Take a moment as I'm silent to feel, sense what this means to you. All right, this isn't a philosophy. When you look at someone who's suffering there, you want to help them. You want to relieve their suffering. You want to relieve their pain. Right? That's just natural for who we are. Now I encourage you, take a breath and breathe that right here now into your body. Compassion. And just let the visual imagery go. You're sitting right here now, breathing, softening your belly, keeping your heart open, the maturity of a mature mystic who understands there is suffering. And yet I'm here to be of service. Taking your time, and when you're ready with that awareness, I'll turn the camera back on. You can open your eyes whenever you're ready, and we'll check in. All right. Okay, thank you, everybody. Chat pod is open for comments, questions, Q&A, discussion. And I'll take us to one more meditation. We usually make the evening classes 2 hours when we do these Monday night classes, so I'll take us to one more little thing before I wrap it up. But fully open for anything you might want to share or ask. What I will say about that meditation, it is the quintessential meditation of, for me, what interpersonal hypnotherapy is. It's in my book, Interpersonal Hypnotherapy. It's absolutely in our school's training. And for me, it really represents shifting your perception from just being a normal human down in the valley with everybody else, but not aware of who you are, just doing the human thing. But then somebody might be more spiritually inclined, looks up to the top of the mountain. Here's a quick story. This is a Hindu story, so bear with the mythology. The great god Shiva was looking down upon all of humanity. He's the light. He's looking down. He said, who's my greatest disciple? And he found the one guy who he thought was probably the one. And he said, hi, appears before this guy who's in deep meditation and prayer and says, hi, I'm Shiva. And he says, wow, so good to meet you, Lord. And Shiva says, I'm going to give you one wish, whatever you want, you can have it. The man says, but that's not going to work. I need 2 wishes. He's like, hey, look, I'm Shiva, I'm God, I'm here, I'm giving you a wish, take it. He's like, no, I must have 2. He said, okay, you're such a good devotee, you can have 2 wishes. What is your first wish? That I can keep both eyes focused only on you, the light, all right, on the source, on God, Spirit. That I can keep both eyes focused only on you. And he says, granted, what is your other wish? That anyone who shall walk by my shadow should be blessed. All right, so if you are in that valley and both eyes are on Spirit, up on that light, everyone who walks by my shadow should be blessed. Anyone who comes into my life should be blessed. If not, you're doing something else. You're either forgiving and blessing, or you're attacking and condemning, right? So here in hypnotherapy, what else we're going to do? Forgive and bless, right? So that's looking up to the light. Then when you float up to the light, that's like the out-of-body experiences, the deep mystical states, which again, you can practice every day. You can go into deep samadhi, cosmic conscious levels of meditation every single day. I'm happy to teach you guys that kind of stuff if you don't really know how to take that plunge. And then as you go up to the top, you're in that. But as you're in that, you start to become it. But then you do look down on the earth again. You realize there's suffering. In the original Buddhism, it was just get up there, escape, and you're done. That's what most of the world's religions were about. But the Bodhisattva ideal became this beautiful evolutionary religion that said, no, if there's still suffering down there, I'm not just saying, hey, St. Peter, thanks for letting me in. Nope, I'm going back down, and until all beings are free of suffering, I will not stop. So that, to me, that meditation is the essence of interpersonal hypnotherapy. It's the Bodhisattva vow that says sentient beings are numberless. I vow to save them all. Okay, chat pod. a bunch of thank yous. So thank you, everybody. Said, sure, that was beautiful. I love what you guys are saying. A lot. I'm not going to catch everybody. Okay, here it is. Thank you. That was lovely. Thank you, Matthew. That was beautiful. Very peaceful. Thank you. That was beautiful. Made me emotional when I saw everyone with the eyes of light being. I felt a lot of love. You know, in my deep meditation, which I get to do a lot now in the mountains during stay-at-home order, so much peace, so much bliss, so much light. You know, like where the real love kicked in was as this class started getting closer and closer. I'm like, oh my God, I love you guys so much. I'm so grateful to be teaching. So love, interpersonal hypnotherapy is about relationships. I'm sorry we have to do it online right now. I'd rather be in a conference with you guys. But, you know, we do have the internet. It's obviously the saving grace for a lot of us right now. So we're doing what we can. Thank you, everyone. Very peaceful. That was revelatory. Thank you. Thank you for the meditation, relaxing and peaceful. All right, a lot of thank yous. I won't take too much time with that. Thank you, everybody. Here's a little longer one. Thank you, everybody who commented. So beautiful. The Gita, the Bhagavad Gita, one of the Hindu scriptures, says, make your vessel hollow like a flute so that Krishna can fill with his breath. Right? Sounds a lot like Christianity, too. All we need to do is sit and keep still and be filled with a limitless power from Source to do Source's will, the will for all. Thank you. Thank you for giving us the word Krishna in there. Okay, beautiful. Great. Let's just take the last 10 minutes of class. I'll shut the camera again. Take you on a little bit more of a meditation guided towards the samadhi idea. And then we'll wrap it up with the next class scheduled for a week from now. Let me give you the exact date and the topic. So that is April the 13th, 2020. We'll do this again, same meeting room, same link, and the class will be Peace Under All Circumstances. So to close with the meditation now, in yogic practice, which also relates to deep Buddhist practice, as well as honestly any deep mystical branch, you take Sufism to its depth, you go here, Kabbalah to its depth, you go here, Christian mysticism to its depth, it'll go here, which is different words for the same state. This state in deep yogic practice is called nirvikalp samadhi. The word vikalp means imagination, and nir means without. So nirvikalp, without imagination. All the hypnotherapy that most of us do, which is awesome, deals with visualization, guided imagery, taking negative perceptions, turning them to positive perceptions. Keep doing that. That's really good stuff. That's helping people go from their inner bad dream into an inner happy dream. But like I said, eventually we want to go towards awakening. You know, who are we really? And if you really study interpersonal hypnotherapy, which is an additional 22 hours on top of our school's training. By the way, our graduates, it's a CEU course. It's 22 hours. You can do it at home while you're sitting around doing nothing. Because some of our graduates have not done true interpersonal hypnotherapist training. We're the only brand that does that, so it gives you the credential of interpersonal hypnotherapist. And it's not just about balancing the ego states of parent, adult, and child, which a lot of you know about. The deeper interpersonal teachings are about dissolving those ego states. So I commented before, it's not about controlling the ego, it's helping to see it doesn't even exist. So nirvikalp samadhi is perhaps best in sacred geometry described as an empty circle. And one of our lovely commentators here said, to make your vessel hollow like a flute so that Krishna, another word for God, can fill you with his breath. Right? So breath, and those of you who've been through the training know the idea of breath work. We do a lot of breath work in this school. In Hebrew, the word for the breath of God is Ruach HaKodesh. Literally can be translated as the Holy Spirit or the holy breath of God. Right? So when your system is clear, you do enough breath work to clear all your blocks and all your emotions, again, what's left is that light or love. I'm saying that because in nirvikalp samadhi, meaning no imagination, we don't have to use guided imagery to get there. We can use guided imagery to get people, right? I had you visualize what it was like to be in the top of the mountain. I had you imagine coming down here, but hear the word imagine. To go deeper into what is samadhi meditation, what is nirvikalp samadhi. In the Tao Te Ching, the Taoist Bible, it says, those who know do not speak, and those who speak do not know. But those who do know feel inclined to teach. So you can't describe exactly what nirvikalp samadhi is, but you can be guided into it. Because of proper hypnotic language patterns, good use of words and suggestions, I know I can guide people to deep meditative stage much quicker. So you might say nirvikalpa is a state of no mind. The word in Sanskrit again was nirod, not to stop your thoughts, but we could say to get to a space, and giving you a very brief overview of this, to get to a place inside where your mind is just quiet. Right? So you're not trying to stop your mind in deep meditation. You are just putting your attention where you want it to be. Okay, so introduction to super deep teachings, but I'm honored to be doing that again in these Monday night classes. So I'm going to stop the camera and let's go on a brief meditation dedicated to very deep meditative states. You probably won't go as deep as you can because meditation is a practice, but I invite you to go as deep as you want to. So again, eyes are closed, spine is straight. Our first step is asana, the body is still. You need do nothing. Shikantaza, just sitting. But most people can't just sit, they're so busy. So we're stopping our body. Again, awareness comes to the breath. Our next step in the 8 limbs of yogic practice is called pranayama. Prana is life force energy. Yam is loosely translated as to control, but perhaps a better word would be to restrict or to gently regulate, which means slow down your breathing, simply stated. See if you can make your breath so quiet that not even you can hear it. And just feel the air moving in through your nose, the air moving out through your nose, and notice that your mind and your breath are intimately connected. So the quieter your breathing becomes, the quieter your mind will become. However, we need to put our attention somewhere. So put your attention again in the space behind your 2 physical eyes. Remember, as gentle as this may seem, meditation is a matter of life and death. The Bodhisattva Vow is literally about relieving the suffering of all beings. So put your attention in the 3rd eye region, if you want to call it that, as if nothing else in the entire universe matters right now. Holding your attention behind your 2 physical eyes, you might think to yourself, breathing in. I know I'm breathing in. Breathing out. I know I'm breathing out. And start to gather your attention inwards. Again, release the past. There is no past. Forget about the future. Nobody knows the future anyway. Just let it go. I know you're scared, but let it go. Be here now. You've heard that before. This is just the invitation to really do it more than ever before with full concentrated power. Withdraw from the external world. Just let everything outside of your house or your room go. Put all the attention in the room, but everything in the room can wait too. Just become aware of your breath and your eyelid and the warm, moist space behind closed eyes. Imagine as if you can look up into your forehead. Just start to forget about the external world just for now. We have a stay-at-home order. They're telling you to be still and to know. Directing your attention inwards, we withdraw from the senses. You don't need to smell anything right now. Just move up into your forehead. You don't need to taste anything now. Withdraw from your senses. You don't need to feel sensation in your body now. Just move up, in and up. Your ears are vibrating the sound of my voice now, but you don't have to focus on anything else. But just this inner, quiet space where you're aware that you're aware. I invite you to put your attention on your own consciousness. You're aware that you're aware. focus on that consciousness as if that's the only thing that matters. The idea of I am. Just I am. No imagery, no fantasies. You don't know anything, you're just conscious. There's nowhere to go, there's nothing to do, there's no problem that has to be solved. Just be. Just trust, I'm just being. You don't have to believe you exist, you exist. You don't have to visualize some heavenly realm. You are peace. Focus on the peace that's in you as you. You are bliss. Just keep going in there. You'll feel so much bliss. You are love. Just meditate on who you are. You're not up or down, in or out, left or right. You're right there in the very center of your own being as your own being. And if it helps to concentrate your mind as you breathe in, you might just think, I am. Exhale, peace. I am light. I am love. Just breathe in and notice I'm just describing you. Inhale, I am. Exhale, conscious. I am pure goodness. And just take a moment in silence to hold all of your attention on I am, realizing this is the most valuable thing you could ever do. It is literally how the Bodhisattva saves all sentient beings. Just being. The great poet Kabir, he said, this will do as a place to sit. Imagine that you're sitting in what's called the seat of your soul, or in what's called the witness or the knower, the observing consciousness. And then when you're ready, very, very slowly, because this is the descent down the mountain. In a moment, you're going to simply very, very slowly, as slow as you can do it, in a moment, you'll be slowly opening your eyes. This is descending. It's as real as it gets. You're on this planet as a spiritual being, and you're going to notice when you watch the news later, they're suffering. So a quote I used to use is, everything is God, act accordingly. So as you very slowly start to open your eyes, in a moment I'll get the camera back on and invite everybody to be right here now. There we go. My tear. All right, so I invite everybody to be right here on the earth with me. We're the Bodhisattvas. We're part of the ones who are choosing to be. Well, we are the light and the love of the world, but we're choosing to be awakened to that reality. I know in our school, we're working through hypnotherapy to bring that light and love to the world. It's not religious, it's not dogmatic, it's just here we are, right? And we know if you're part of this whole wave to eliminate error in the mind, to alleviate suffering by healing the mind, then we realize that hypnotherapy, in Sanskrit, they're called upaya, skillful means. Right? It's a skillful mean to use hypnotherapy, NLP, life coaching, meditation, breath work, all this stuff that we have in our bag of tricks, right? We bring to the world. And again, if you're sitting at home and you're not seeing clients right now, or you just started the school's training or something, in the school, I'm not being overly spiritual about things, but Monday night classes, we have a real chance to go as deep as we possibly can. And again, when something is so in your face, like COVID-19, what else are you going to do but turn to the deepest teachings that you know and live the highest teachings that you know? All right. Thank you, everybody. We're going to wrap it up. It's been 2 hours, so that's usually what we were doing in the past for Monday night classes, so I guess that's probably what's going to keep happening. I'm still open to question and answer. If you want to stay longer, I'm fine. If you're watching this video or class, you just want to log off, go ahead. Class officially dismissed. If you're a student in the school, no passcodes for this. Thank you, everybody. It's such a pleasure. Again, after these closing words, I'm fully here So we'll keep doing these Monday nights until we don't do them anymore Monday nights. We will be posting these on YouTube. That's why I'm using Zoom. And thank you, everybody, for being part of this mission, whatever that means to you. All right. So far, just thank yous. Thank you so much. Exceptional teachings. We are blessed and honored to listen to your wisdom. Thank you. That's my mission statement, just to share my knowledge and wisdom. So thank you for letting me do it. I find breathing into this head center feels real deeper. Nice. Awesome. And hello to you who said that. Awesome. I'm not saying names, but I honor all of you guys. I know a lot of you so well. Okay, beautiful. Thank you, thank you. Love and light to you all. All right, I'm going to stop recording, but again, I'll be here with any last questions. So thank you, everybody. I will see you in a week if you choose to join me for this journey.